It's shifted.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. My name is Nick Nightingale. I would like to address the same exact issue that Mr. Laverty was talking about earlier. For those of you that did not read the letter to the editor by Trustee Michael Flynn, if you guys could, I'd appreciate if you put the television camera on Trustee Michael Flynn through my speech. But anyways, I'd like to go through the...
Hey, but you don't get to direct the TV.
Yeah.
I do.
I'm sure you do. I don't control
And it is on you.
Through the... he sent a letter into the editor, which was also posted online. It was a perfect example of how this board operates. This letter is a perfect example of the extreme lengths our elected township officials will take to intimidate, bully, any of those that go against their personal motives and interest. Flynn is right. We are in a recession. Our property values have plummeted. People are unemployed and underemployed. Flynn asked, what does this mean? It means lower revenues for governments. However, Flynn forgets to inform the general public that, in fact, it also means a larger effect on political campaign contributions from the normal individuals who normally donate. Now, this creates a situation for our local politicians to, hang on a second. This creates a situation for our local politicians to get creative in the type of individuals that they solicit for campaign contributions. Mr. Flynn goes on to say, I am like the party guest that refuses to go home at the end of the night. He also states, like most issues in politics, the real answer always comes back to money. At this point, I put down Mr. Flynn's letter to the editor and reviewed his campaign finances leading up to his term in office. After reviewing his campaign contributions, I found it quite funny that 66% of his donations to elect him into office as a representative of Shelby Township was funded by individuals whom live outside of Shelby Township. I found it hysterical that Mr. Vire, our township treasurer, funded 20% of his campaign to elect Michael Flynn into office, which leads me up to the point that Mr. Flynn states, why would a towing contractor care about a rezoning issue? He forgets to tell the general public that I am a lifelong Shelby Township resident. Unlike himself, he is a short-term Shelby Township resident. He also forgets to mention that this specific rezoning was indeed investigated by the Macomb County Sheriff's Department. It is quite possible that Trustee Flynn did not realize the previous Planning Commission turned down the rezoning property, which included a much smaller amount of the property. But after the new supervisor, Richard Stathakis, took office, he had appointed 4 new commissioners to the Planning Commission, not including Mr. Vire, whom already sat on the Planning Commission. After that, miraculously, the developer had all the votes he needed to rezone the entire property, not just the smaller part that he wanted to rezone before. Through my research, I found huge donations from the developer and his associates. By associates, I mean including, but not limited to, his attorney. This particular attorney is an individual that has had Mr. Vire's favorable votes in every matter he has presented to this board since the early 90s. Honestly, I could be wrong, but I cannot find one issue where Mr. Vire voted against this specific attorney. My main concern in Trustee Flynn's letter is how far some of our local politicians will go to silence people like me. On top of all the defamation of character and slanderous material of myself and my family by some members of this board, I now have Michael Flynn comparing me to a wolf in his letter? He claims that I am a wolf that previous boards and some current board members are willing to feed to the taxpayers as long as I promise to eat them last.
30 seconds.
Towing services in this township create revenue for taxpayers. It's never been the other way around. I am sorry to tell you, Trustee Flynn, the party is over, the balloons are popped, we're all out of cake and ice cream. I hope you go back to Rochester, because I do not believe residents of Shelby Township can afford to have another politician like yourself that is looking out for yourself and your own interest come into Shelby Township and try to run as a full-time Shelby Township politician.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to state
that's
for the record, those things that I just stated in this letter
Captain, can
about
you-
slanderous material, I have
Captain,
never,
it's said.
I have
Come out.
never,
Captain,
to this day, I have not
That is
filed
it.
any
Captain, can
lawsuits
you
against
please
this
remove him right
township
now?
or any individual on this board.
Order. Captain, please remove him. Thank you very much. Captain, please remove him. Okay.
Okay, that's good.
Mr. Chairman,
Out.
No, he doesn't need to quiet out. He, as long as he's quiet, he can sit in the meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, everyone's got 5 minutes, and let's cut the emotion. I mean, you want to get emotional, that's fine, but when your time's up, you just simply have to leave. And I think everybody, most people in here understand that, and I really appreciate that. But for those, and especially the one who just got up here, this is not the first time this has happened, and that is it. I want you out of here. Okay, thank you. I just want to thank everybody, though, for their patience. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Flynn.
I'd like to thank Mr. Nightingale for his very spirited remarks. I've lived in Shelby Township for 12 years. I don't consider that short term, but to answer Mr. Nightingale's question, in America, Mr. Nightingale does not get to govern a township by birthright. It doesn't matter if you were born here or not. Every citizen is welcome to move in and out of Shelby Township at will and participate in our government as they see fit. He forgot also to mention about my campaign financing. Yes, I am not a rich man. I accepted donations. That never buys my vote. And he also failed to mention that I financed the majority of my campaign myself. And then finally, in regard to my column, I stand by every word of it. And I have never had a more positive response from the members of the public than from that column. I have never had more citizens contact me than over that column. So I will let the people of Shelby Township decide what Mr. Nightingale's true motivations are, and we will let the chips fall where they may. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, I also would like to say that I was, Mr. Nightingale spoke of my votes, I presume, in the early 90s. I was elected in, or took office in 2000, I believe, so I don't know what the heck he's talking about. So, but that goes along with a lot of things that he's mentioned at the podium, so it's not unusual.